May 14th, 2024. Roll call, please, Anna.
Tauschek.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Mattsdorf. Here. Gilson.
Here.
Hildebrand. Pankwitz.
Here.
Binder.
Here.
Nelson.
Let the record show we have a quorum. Next is the approval of the minutes from April 30th, 2024. Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes. Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Moving on to item 3, discussion and recommendation for Generations Funding Agreement. Tim, why don't you start it off and then we'll go from there.
Sure, I'll give a brief summary, and then following the discussion on this item tonight, Generations Executive Director Greg Voss is here, and he's going to give an update and annual report on Generations. So the City of Plymouth has been providing annual funding to the Plymouth Intergenerational Coalitions, also known as Generations, since 2013. This commitment has been extended multiple times, ending just recently in April 2024. The funding for the last year of the contract amounted to $136,680. Following some discussions with Greg, staff does propose extending the funding agreement for an additional 3-year period. The proposal includes a 2.14% increase per year. This aligns with the most recent city levy limit increase percentage from 23 to 24. I would anticipate very similar increases potentially moving forward. So historically, the city has aimed to provide Generations with a multi-year commitment rather than an annual agreement. So staff does recommend that the Committee of the Whole recommend the Common Council approve an addendum to funding for the Plymouth Intergenerational Coalition. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. The recommendation is to extend the contract, and the language is pretty much the same as prior years. They provide the service and we provide a financial stipend to them. The programming certainly is one of, I think we can all be proud of. It's a very worthwhile program for the city, and it's something that since Generations came about has really, I think, increased the opportunity for socialization and participation in the community. So doing a lot better than we as a city did ourselves. So our hat is off to you and the staff and all the work that they do there. With that, did you want to make any comments about, we're kind of overlapping 3 and 4 here a little bit, and we can maybe if we want to go ahead and make a recommendation on 3, and then we'll go right into 4.
I think we could do a recommendation on 3, a motion,
Yeah.
and then approval, and then we can move into 4.
Yeah, we're kind of blending them, but at the same time, we're talking about the same participants. So with that, Chair will entertain a motion for recommending the 3-year agreement as indicated.
I'll make a motion that we recommend the agreement for the next 2 years.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? We should have a roll call on that since it's a monetary item.
Hildebrand. Mattsdorf.
Yes.
Pankwitz.
Yes.
Tauschek.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Binder.
Yes.
Gilson.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you for all the effort that goes into that. It's a 25-hour-a-day job at times, I'm sure, so it's appreciated. Moving on to item 4, Generations Annual Presentation. So at this point, we'll go right into it and tell us a little bit about what is going on at Generations and what you're looking ahead at doing.
Thank you for that, first of all. That's so appreciated. And when you look at nonprofit work, like I've been in the business for about 42 years. I started when I was 11. Actually, I started when I was like 20 in La Crosse, Wisconsin, as the YMCA executive director. But friends of nonprofits are you guys. Those that support us, not only advocating on the streets of the city that we're in, but also financially. So that gift and that 3-year commitment is very much appreciated, not just by me and the staff. You know, I use the tag, and Andy served us a few times as our past liaison representative. It's a really great time to be with Generations. So I'm going to page through this annual report, and then field any questions if you have those. I know we have probably a large busy agenda today, but every year we do an annual report that reflects back on the previous year. So this is 2023 annual report. We also have a page in here that I'll reflect on because, in my opinion, I think people love to hear about where we've been, but I think they like to hear a little bit more about where we're going. And so I want to kind of mix the two in the presentation today. But last year we completed a strategic plan. And sometimes when people hear strategic plan, they think, well, what's that going to look like in 6 months or a year or 5 years? Well, we spent about 15 hours with all of our board and staff together to complete a strategic plan. We're really happy about it and confident about it. I'll reflect a little bit more on that when we look ahead. We're also, our marketing committee got together, and you noticed, well, maybe you didn't notice, the color palettes that we have now. Now we have a unified look with everything that we send out. So when you're walking up and down the hallway, coming in for Rotary Lunch, Mr. Mayor, you can see that on the bulletin board, everything looks the same. So we kind of rebranded, and that was an effort of our marketing committee to do that. We had our first ever in 13 years an annual campaign. And annual campaigns, I know in most of my career with the YMCAs that I've been with in different cities and locations, annual campaigns, we raise money in the community so we can give back financial assistance to those folks, some of your friends and neighbors and relatives that can't afford a full cost of a membership. So we felt that was important as part of our annual campaign. We thought we could do $30,000 in that annual campaign. First time ever at Generations, we accomplished and achieved $43,000. So we really felt good about that. The other two buckets, if you will, for the annual campaign went to healthy living programs, which includes, we need to get more marketing out on this, a Parkinson's management program. When we came and talked to some of the community leaders over the last year, we learned that Parkinson's programs and support for caregivers weren't really prevalent in our area. So Emily, our wellness and fitness director, has launched Parkinson's programs, Parkinson's management programs, so we raise money to do that as well. And we also are providing Joa, one of our program directors, dollars to expand intergenerational programs, because that's really the basis for the foundation for what we are, an intergenerational center. So that was all pretty cool. In here you see, the financial review in a pie chart. I'll make one comment on that before I look ahead here a bit, is that when I came, going on 2 years ago, I noticed that the revenue at Generations, 63% of our $1.1 or $1.2 million budget, well, 63% was our rentals, that we rent out our facility, and also Piccadilly. Dave does an amazing job there with catering with Piccadilly. But I looked at that and thought that's a high percentage, and in my opinion, too high a percentage of our budget coming through just those two lines. So we're working hard behind the scenes to increase fundraising, which the annual campaign did, planned giving opportunities, estate planning, and also membership. We're going to increase membership. So you're going to see over the years a higher percentage of our revenue coming from those earned revenue lines and not so much pressure on the rentals and Piccadilly. Just makes good business sense to do it that way. So looking ahead, the strategic plan calls for 4 focus areas, and I'll just touch on those. Our 4 focus areas over the next 2 to 3 years are expanding and enhancing our business operating principles. Us nonprofit people a lot of times think we can be everything to everybody. And sometimes we haven't run nonprofits like a business. So we need to run it more like a business. Know where the dollars are going out, squeeze expenses where we can, utilize volunteers more, look at new revenue streams. So we're really focusing on that over the next couple of years, and that's on me and my role, also our staff and finance committee. We want to do more mission-based programs, which is intergenerational programs. It's interesting in nonprofit work, people say, well, you change lives, don't you? And I respond, we do that, but we also save lives. We also save government a lot of money by what we do in that program area and membership area. What you, Mr. Mayor, what you talked about in the socialization, we have many, many folks, 2-3 dozen that I could probably name right now that come in there. We're the only place for them to be on any given day. They're invisible in the community, a lot of them, and they're invisible with their families. They may have been abandoned, they're lonely and they're isolated, so we need to continue that march to make sure that we're always there for those folks. They come all from all ages too. We have middle school kids that are invisible, that don't have a lot of social support, so we want to expand our programming for that too. We want to look at strategic partners, we're working with great marriages, with big brothers, big sisters in the county. We work with ADRC that provides a senior lunch program that some of you have seen at Generations, to expand programs, to work together to spread the dollar, and to also not duplicate programs. Because as you start doing more health and fitness classes, we brought in community ed in the school districts and said, we're not student competing. We want to offset, enhance, augment what you're doing at your activity center. And so that partnership with the school district will be even stronger moving down the road, especially now. We have a new community ed director that's coming in, a new superintendent. So we're really looking forward to working with them. And the last is facility utilization and expansion, last focus area. So we look at our 30,000 square feet that we have, and it's not just about brick and mortar capital campaign planning, it's about how can we relook at utilizing that space differently at a low or no cost, depending on the needs of the community. So we'll be looking at expanded hours, opening early for maybe the working population to get some fitness classes in the morning, and then after work time as well. Lastly, one program that we're launching at Fairview, which really epitomizes our mission, is that in the past I've worked with the Y. We go out to do help manage recess for elementary and middle schools. So Y staff go out on the playground, relieve the teachers and the support staff of recess duty. I was a teacher one year, and recess duty was not fun. I mean, it was fun, but it was something that you'd rather be back in the classroom planning, your lesson plans, etc. So we're going to make an intergenerational program out of recess, and our pilot school will be Fairview Elementary School. When I talked to the principal, Nick O'Malley, I said it's going to be no cost to you. It's going to be part of our annual campaign. So those strategic partnerships with someone like him at Fairview, working to get closer with the school district, will really pay good dividends down the road. It'll be fun to make it intergenerational because we'll have folks like old guys like me, and we're going to try to get, Butch Kane, the FIAT teacher at the school district. Joe's daughter works for us. We'll get him involved. We'll get those folks out there on the playground working with the kids to minimize bullying and make them look at recess a whole lot different. So that's just an example for what's coming in down the road. I could talk forever. Generations is an awesome organization. I'm proud to be here to lead it as a staff person. Certainly on behalf of our board and our staff and our members, thank you for all the support and the communication that Tim and I have, and now with Mike coming on board, great things moving forward.
Thank you very much for, number one, taking the time and walking us through part of your annual report. The chair will allow any follow-up questions that you might have of the director and or current or future programs. We'll put them in the hot seat and pick on them a little bit, but it certainly is a good thing for the community, and we appreciate that, and our partnership with Generations. It's proven to be a win-win situation. So if someone has any particular questions or inquiries,
I like your comments about the senior citizen group, the folks that feel isolated. And, one of the reasons that contributes to their isolation, they don't have any kind of driving abilities anymore, transportation. Do you do anything with, when you identify those kind of folks to help them as far as finding transportation?
We do, I mean, we're small enough to have kind of a peer-to-peer little network.
Yeah.
We hear of people that live out in, not that far down the road, Waldo or Cascade, and try to connect them. But part of the key to that is the financial assistance policy. The money we raise now allows them to come in at low or no cost for their membership as well. We're on a call with Sheboygan County. They may be getting some funding for loneliness and isolation for seniors too, and that was a hot topic on their phone call with us. How can we do that? The other option, the dream, hallucination, maybe a dream, we could go visit them too. I mean, there are programs across the country where, like Big Brothers Big Sisters, reverse that about 50, 60 years, where we go visit them in a companionship program and then bust them in for congregate meals and things like that. So yes, those are all on the table. Thank you.
transportation has always been a problem since we're on the west end of the county, and trying to cover those transportation costs. Not so well, the fuel is always a big thing, but the insurance and requirements of, I'll call them safety vehicles for transportation, it gets to be a real problem. And the county has been looking at this for years. I know a prior alderman, William, that was on the council and was working with Generations 5-6 years ago, did an in-depth review of it, and unfortunately it's astronomical to the point where we couldn't do it when you wanted to do it. You know, everybody had to be someplace at one time, or you had to wait till tomorrow. And that always doesn't work with senior citizens because they have their own timeline. And we all know that. So it's difficult as trying to go through some of those logistics, and we keep looking at different options within it. And certainly the county has done a masterful job in trying to acquire some contribution funding through the different state and federal programs. But we're in rural America, no doubt about it. So it's hard, yeah. Good. We thank you very much and appreciate, keep up the good work, and that will certainly continue, I'm sure, and thank you for jumping on board. We're hearing good things. Thank you.
Great.
With that, we'll move on to item 5, Sheboygan County Economic Development Corporation, SCDC for short, forward fund presentation. Tim, I'll call on you for any opening comments
Yeah,
and
just-
introductions.
Very brief introduction. So Brian Downa is here tonight, who's the Executive Director of the Sheboygan County Economic Development Corporation. He's going to just provide an informational update on their housing initiative called the Forward Fund. The SCEDC is just seeking to inform council on the structure of their projects as they consider future locations in Sheboygan County. So Brian, I'll leave it to you.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you all for the opportunity to present tonight. Again, I've been here since 2020, and one of the first things we did was we call it strategic direction. So I got hired in October. November we had our strategic direction session, and in December we adopted a whole new strategy. And as part of that, housing became one of the primary focuses of the EDC just because, and I'll give you the data that was presented at our strategic direction meeting, just so you understand the situation analysis that we were going through at that time and how we're going forward. Just the beginning slide, I just think, again, we believe in public-private partnerships. And I would just say, before I got here, truly under the leadership of your former administrator, Brian, and working with the EDC's foundation, the cheese counter and that public-private partnership was able to advance. So we want to continue to look at how we advance public-private partnerships to address the housing issue long-term, okay? So that's really what our strategy is about, is making sure that we can have entry-level homes available throughout the county as we need to grow the population and grow the workforce to support the business in the economy in the marketplace. Our vision, and we just actually had our second strategic direction meeting in September. So we just adopted the new vision and mission statement. Those were original from, prior to that, they were original from 2010. I just want to stress that premier global destination for investment, that is something that we have globally in competitive companies, and now our communities have to be able to compete at the global level as well. So we want to make sure that we try to do as much to remove barriers to growth and investment as possible. So part of my job is to identify the barriers to growth and then try to figure out how do we remove those as opportunities for the communities as they are presented. In our mission statement, we added a few things, but I think the one that I think is of most importance tonight is while fostering vibrant neighborhoods. Something that was discussed in detail is not just building homes, but it's also building third places. You have work, home, and third places, those places that you go to congregate as a community. So again, one of the things that we'll be doing over the next 3 years, and I anticipate it being much more than 3 years, is looking at third places in the community that have places for people to congregate. And not just their homes, not just the work. We all know the natural attributes that we have here, but we also want to be looking at what other things can we do to make this a more interactive, I like calling it intentional collisions, where you just know when you go someplace, you're going to find your crowd. Back in 2020, the fall, we had around 3,000 open positions unfilled. Now I would say we're in the 2,000 range just because of some of the economy challenges that have been going on and some recent announcements. But I think the key factor here is, you'll see on the next slide, but days of inventory on homes, we're at 10 days back at that time frame, and I would just say it has not improved. And a normal market where you can have a free flow of people moving in and out is around 90 days of inventory. So across the county, rental rates, I should say, rental vacancies are very limited. So you have high occupancy rates and your availability of homes is really limited. So, and I'll also, this is a personal comment, when you have locked in interest rates, we had a decade of 3% money. Those homes, you're not going to see a natural churn in the economy, just because if you have a locked in 3% and the current interest rates are at 7%, that's a big cost of money that is going to be making people hesitant unless they have a major life shift to change their circumstances. Okay. But this is the slide that I think got us and my board really looking at housing and what we're doing. Everybody talks about apartments, but that red area is the number of building permits that were typically pulled prior to the Great Recession, and what happened during the Great Recession when the banking community wasn't able to finance spec homes or homes unless you were a larger builder. So we lost a lot of builders at that time, but also the number of homes going up just simply decreased. And you can see this happened across the entire nation. That's why you see the housing issues and that being national news all the time. That's what we were looking at. So again, we are definitely looking at apartments as well, but I want to stress that our funding that I'll talk about now is dedicated to single-family homes, trying to get yards for people moving into a home hopefully in your area of the county. So and please interrupt me with any questions. I want to make sure that you kind of get a flavor of what our strategy is. But we raised $8 million from, you can see, from the private sector, from those 4 companies, many of them in this part of the county. And then also $2 million from the county ARPA for advancing entry-level homes. Again, I want to stress that this is our first project is addressing workforce barriers, and housing was identified as workforce barriers. You can see the other things that we are trying to deal with, but housing is where we're focusing our energies at this time. The management of the Forward Fund, so again, we have our housing initiative, and the funding mechanism is called the Forward Fund. That's just the dollars within our housing initiative. But we have a housing committee made up of representatives from all of those companies. All those companies. I want to stress that in the donation agreements to the SEDC, those companies do not get any preferential treatment. So it doesn't have to be, people buying the homes don't have to work at any of those companies. It's employed in Sheboygan County and living and working here. It's a live-work preference program. But ultimately it goes to my executive committee, and then the board of directors ultimately will make decisions on where we invest dollars and how the programs and the type of floor plans that are built. So our first subdivision is in Sheboygan Falls, Founders Point. We made the commitment of trying to get in the 250,000 range. I would just say the cost of materials definitely went up from when we started the process in 2020 to when we actually hit the ground in 2022 timeframe, in the 40 to 50,000 range. So right now we're selling the homes at $315,000 and $325,000, providing a down payment assistance program of $65,000 through a different programming initiative. So the goal is $250,000 out of pocket. As hopefully material costs come down, we're doing these at cost. There's not a markup. We're trying to make everybody be as affordable as possible and get more housing units in the marketplace so that, again, we support growing the population and the labor market in this area. So that's the first design. Our second subdivision is just north of that, and I will start in a month or so. And that would be 41 single-family homes. The last one was 54. So a total of 95 homes will be going up in Sheboygan Falls, all ending. We should have the last one from Founders Point, the first phase, done by April of next year, averaging 4 home starts a month. And then our second phase, we are looking at up to 6 home starts a month, starting in June, July timeframe. So that we will almost be built out in Sheboygan Falls by the summer of 2025. So, key factor is we need to continue to identify sites throughout the county for future investment. So thus, I'm here tonight to make you aware of the program, hopefully demystify, answer questions, because we're going to be looking for additional sites, looking at the 25, 26, and 27 market timeframes. And very definitely, Plymouth is on the radar as a potential location for a future project. Our current home standards, just to give you a sense, is 1,200 to 1,600 square feet. And when we first started floating the ideas, we did go around and talk to staff, and that was before Tim got here, but I know that Kathy was made adamant that basements be part of all projects in In Plymouth, if there anything would ever propose, just because we don't want more mini storage units in the community. So that's something that you can see the standards that we have: 3-bedroom, 2-bath. They can be 1 or 2 stories, 2-car garage with a lot width of 60 feet. I have a different slide that shows 70, 80, and 90. We tried to stay at 60 feet primarily because you don't, if you go 70, 80, and 90, that's what the general contractor does. That's kind of the market of what the private sector does on a normal lot. So we tried to do things that is not prevalent in the market at this point. Again, trying to drive down cost. So that's why the 60-foot lot. So that's what I would say is our definition of entry-level homes. As far as sample of municipal partnership, you probably may or may not be aware of funding that came out of the state of Wisconsin, WIDA, as part of the bills for housing in, I would say, the fall or early 2024. There was $545 million of housing dollars allocated. And some of that is tied to how do municipalities partner with developers to reduce the cost of projects. Just because, as we all know, housing prices, rental rates, and all those continue to escalate, and the cost of living is higher than where the wage rates are increasing. So the state, as part of their housing package, actually put in some provisions tied to how municipalities partner with developers, whether it's private or public or public-private partnership or nonprofit. How you partner basically makes it eligible for basically low-interest loans. No grants, it's low-interest loans. It's just trying to get more projects in the ground. That's really the strategy that the state has. But in example of municipal partnerships, and I'm just bringing some examples from what we did with Sheboygan Falls. So everything is just kind of gives you a framework again. Road width, first subdivision was 36 feet wide with a regular right-of-way. The second one will be 32 feet wide with no parking on either side of the street, just because we're doing compressed sites and driveways. Regional retention pond, we were able to feed right into a regional retention pond, but that's something that would be something we would look at. Zoning code, I apologize for not finishing that off, but public planned unit development, or in your case, it would be R5 zoning, your neighborhood zoning. I think that's where
Vintage?
Thank you, vintage. I was going to say vintage, and I couldn't remember if that was a different community, so thank you. But it would be very similar, and I'll be very candid. We've talked to Lee multiple times about the different floor plans of that project, about how we can, because that is just a signature project, I think, throughout the county. But that's, some of the front porches are what you're going to see in our phase 2 in Sheboygan Falls. Early construction while infrastructure is being installed. So in many communities, we have to wait for the roads to be put in before you would allow a building permit to go in. Sheboygan Falls allowed us to actually put the sewer and water in and actually start digging basements at the same time. Just, again, what we're trying to do is get housing stock in as fast as possible, and that 3 to 4 months of putting the road in and then starting construction just delays when we can get that first churn of homes coming out, adding to the tax base. Development agreement, everything we do will be tied to a development agreement. So we actually had 2 different development agreements with the city of Sheboygan Falls tied to each phase of the project. And we have deliverables such as guarantee of revenue as far as tax base, all those types of things, and delivery times, so that you can hold us accountable for making sure that we have a development that the community is proud of, and you know how it's going to be turning out. Okay? Waiving a letter of credit. Year one, we had to do a letter of credit. Year two, since we showed that we could implement, they waived the letter of credit. All that is, for those that don't know, is our phase one public infrastructure, the roads, sewer, water, was around $1.4 million. That letter of credit required that we had another 1.4 million set aside. So I had to tie up 2.8 million just to put in that infrastructure. So our goal is, as much as possible, to limit the need for us to have that letter of credit off to the side. And then single family homes only, no apartment lots. In Sheboygan Falls, there are 2 additional lots that we own that we will be looking for developers of apartments to look at because those are not economical for single family homes. So what we're doing is basically passing on at cost, but our dollars, we will not donate it, but we will basically say whatever the raw land cost was, let's get a developer in there and try to structure an agreement for a third-party apartment developer to build something. Again, we don't want our dollars going to that. We want to be laser focused on the single-family homes. So how we look at our investment process, purchase land, RFP to build lots and homes. So we actually go out for every, we have floor plans that we go out to bid to area home contractors, as well as excavators and sewer and water reps to actually build out the infrastructure. So every project we are out to bid and just trying to maximize the value that we can get from that process. We are the developer of record at the EDC, so we actually handle all the cash flow needs of the home builder. So hopefully we can get a smaller home builder that can actually use this as a launching pad to get them to become able to do more buildings down the road without our involvement. Home buyer mortgage, if you go to our website, someplacebetter.org, you'll see that we have all the down payment assistance programs throughout the entire state, ranging from the one in Sheboygan Falls that's $65,000, but then you have 2 that are $10,000 range from other sources than locally. So again, what we try to do is inform as much as possible, and we have to make sure that all the mortgages are sold in the secondary market so it works in the banking community. Now, I'll be honest, that took 9 months to get Fannie Mae to sign off on some of the criteria on our home, on the deed restrictions and everything of that nature. And then replenish the forward funds, so when we sell lots and everything, all that we do is we churn it right back into the next project. So there is not a, and I would just say, none of the forward fund dollars go towards staff. We cover our legal costs related to the forward fund, but anything of the EDC staff's time going into this project is all funded as part of the corporate operations, and our forward fund dollars are truly focused in on development of single family homes and driving tax base. Our home buyer selection process, as you know, there's a demand for those. So I'll just say tiers 1 through 9, we have 9 tiers. So 1 through 5, if you're out of county and moving into the area, you're going to be likely to get a home. If you're tier 6 through 8, you're in county, working in the county, that's when you would be able to be eligible for that. And then all other qualified buyers at tier 9. To give you a sense, of the first 7 homes sold, and I'm sorry I didn't update the slide, but 7 homes have been sold. 5 are first-time home buyers that had lived in Sheboygan County and had been looking for homes. So we were in the tier 6 area, tier 7 area. Some of those had been looking for 2 to 6 years, and that they had lost out on homes for 6 years. And We now have lots 31, 30, 31, 32, and 33, the one below, are now have offers pending. So we actually have 5 homes that will be sold by the end of this month. So we're going to start churning 4 homes a month we're selling and adding hopefully more families, because whether they're first-time home buyers moving out of apartments, we're opening up spaces for people to move into the market. Okay? So that's kind of the model is, and I don't think I have the slide. If you go to someplace better, there actually is how the process work is, we do not list these on a multiple listing service. I would just say we're not the best friend of realtors, and I apologize for that, but we're trying to get that low cost and churn the money back and put them back into more lots. So far we've been fortunate enough that through our marketing efforts that people are going into someplace better and actually selecting the homes they want to buy. I want to stress, no haggle pricing. So nobody has to put over asking price on these homes. And the down payment assistance process is pretty simplified as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I just wanted to try to demystify the program that we have, and if you have any questions, because we will be starting to go through the county and identifying potential locations, and we just want to make sure that we're a good partner wherever we might want to choose to invest, and I want to make sure you're fully informed. So.
First of all, thank you very much, Brian, for taking the time and going through the forward program. I actually visited someplace better site today for quite some time, and glad to see all of the information that you have on there, and the fact that you've got now a dozen homes sold and you're turning those dollars over.
Offers to purchase, so.
And that's important because people like to see progress, and that's critical. So, and the floor plans that I reviewed on there look very well laid out. I know where we can do some tree planting when the time comes, but with all developments that you gotta get the house in too, so.
Yards to go in June.
Yeah.
So, we're doing 22 yards at one time.
Is that right? Wow. Well, that'll be a lot of grass to grow, but it's the way to do it. You don't have to worry, you just keep going down the road, yeah. So, but it certainly is an opportunity, and like you said, with the corporate partners that are there, I think it's something that certainly gives us on this part of the county a opportunity to look at participating in. We have our extended our TID 4, and we have 2.3 million that we'll be putting into our funding program, using it for various options and opportunities similar to what you're looking at here. And those are the kind of things that when you have home expansion, it not only brings in the employee and the family, but now you also make apartments available as well. So you've got a good timeline here, and ambitious as it is, I'm sure it'll be successful. So keep up the good work, and we're glad that you're looking in the Plymouth community as well. So thank you. Anybody have any questions about the program or the funding process, Mike?
Yeah, pardon me if you've said this already, but how did this start? This vision that you guys were gonna work with us, community, to provide these benefits for people. Is that something else in the United States?
I would just say,
You know, what was the thought?
the reality is that if we don't increase the number of people in this county, we will lose investment of our company.
Okay, so that came from within.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, the reality, as I said at the very beginning, I've been in the field for 30 years, so not as long as the other guy, but economic development is about identifying the barriers to growth in the region you're in. And when I came in here, I'll be honest, I tried to buy 2 different homes, and they were asking me to be above price and waiving all the inspections. I'm like, oh my God, this is not a normal market. So that's really what brought me in. And then I looked at the building permits and all the data, and then I heard about all the open positions, and it just starts lining up of saying, and it's a national topic now. So all we did was identify it early on. So now, like, I've given probably 7 different presentations. One to UW-Madison Real Estate School. Why is an economic development corporation in front of the UW-Madison Real Estate School? So they just identify home prices are an issue and quantity is an issue. And so we just said that's our barrier. And in order for us to grow people or to grow the population, they have to have someplace to live. And there was 10 days of inventory.
So did the county, people in the county see the need and brought you in to facilitate this?
That my board of directors, as part of our strategic planning session, strategic direction session, we identified, here's what's happening in the county, and we have a problem. And then we started advancing that. So we had actually started the Ford Fund strategy, and then the county got ARPA dollars coming in, and then the county administrator, Adam, at that time, created all these different task force. And we helped manage, we were on 4 different task force, but we managed the housing one just because Adam was on my board, and I heard everything at the strategic planning session saying we need to deal with that. So the Ford Fund was started well before any ARPA dollars or thought of county dollars coming in. And Mayor, I know you, with the TIF, you have those dollars. We are not anticipating, I won't say it's off the table, we're not anticipating those dollars being part of our initiative because there's enough housing needs out there for other things to happen that I just want to make sure we're not coming here presenting tonight because you might have dollars. That's not our intent. But we look at barriers and say, what do we have to do? So another example is for startups. There's no early stage financing for startups. So later this year, we'll be able to hopefully announce, we got 1 grant, we have another grant in, hopefully in the next 2 months, we'll be able to announce a startup financing tool that only Madison and I think Milwaukee has. And then we'll be the 3rd in the state on that, in that specific financing niche, which should make us, again, more attractive to companies. Like, you look at Carbliss, I mean, they started and they bootstrapped, and just exploded. We need more of that. We have that expertise here, marketing and branding organizations. Now we have to provide the capital to make that feasible multiple times. So it's not a unique situation, it happens. So that's what we do is, what are the barriers to growth, and then identify, and what's the pathway to resolve the issue? Because individual businesses can't do it. Individual communities can't do it. We, in public-private partnerships, can do it jointly. And that's what the EDC is about.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I think to add to that, Mike, follow-up is that our corporate sponsors have seen this need for years. And it's a matter of getting all of the ducks lined up to fill those voids. As Brian said, 3,000 full-time jobs. There's still 3,000 full-time jobs. And we need to fill them, but people need to be able to live, to work. Yeah. Other questions? John?
Could you put your vision and mission slide back up there?
All right, yes. There.
I'm new to the council, and I've appeared before the council several times when they were into the planning phase with their comprehensive plan and strategic planning and so on. And I have a deep concern about paying attention to environmental concerns anytime we talk about the future, our vision. Our vision has to include the kind of things that are happening in our environment because of climate change and plus, as population grows, we've got concerns about conservation with our air quality, with our water quality and so on. So I think any vision should include that, at least mention that that's something we're going to pay attention to. The mission statement, I think, and I'm going to ask you some specific questions about this. I think,
Make them short, John.
Okay, I
We've got
will.
a council
Because-
meeting shortly.
Yep, prosperity for communities, creating opportunities for prosperity to communities. I think it should also include promote development so that buildings and neighborhoods incorporate sustainable features. So for example, all those homes that we looked at in the picture, are they basically supplied by electrical energy?
Yeah.
So hot water heater, stoves, cooking, the only thing probably not is the heating, right?
Yeah.
So, and citing, a neighborhood, we should be citing neighborhoods to take full advantage of our sun. And I don't know if, I'm wondering if, were those kinds of things thought about when this foundation was put together?
Without a doubt, environmental has been discussed.
Okay.
I would just say, as we work, so I'll just say, I was trying to get the solar credits and everything for the first phase. It just, for us in this model, just, I couldn't make the math work. And so completely agree with where you're going and the intent. As far as how we design, very definitely, if we choose to invest here, we will very definitely, you'll see site plans and you'll definitely have the opportunity to have your say and input into that process.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Yeah,
Diane?
So you're not just in Sheboygan County?
what?
You're not just in
No,
Sheboygan?
I'm just in Sheboygan County. So, yeah, just my past life, I've been all over the state. So I used to run a statewide trade association and teaching stuff on economic development. But I chose Sheboygan County as my last stop and hopefully my retirement home. So if this fails, don't record it. But if this fails, then I don't think I retire here. But but no, my goal is that no, I live and breathe economic development, and I actually live in Plymouth. This is a great community. It's amazing what we have in Sheboygan County. After 3 years, I realized that. And so completely understand the concerns, and that's the vibrant neighborhoods and all of that. We can't lose who we are. And so everything we do has to be incorporating understanding the past, the impacts, and how we truly become closer in the marketplace. But at the end of the day, we also have to grow the population so that we can support the growing companies that we have, which I call Sheboygan County a unicorn in the national economy. You don't find in a county of 120,000 people this many globally or nationally competitive companies, let alone corporate headquarters. And family owned, and they're involved in the market. You won't find that anywhere else. So we have our little corner of, I say, always want to try to improve our corner of the world, and you can do that here. So,
Anybody else? John?
And Brian, you emphasized single-family homes. Does that include duplexes as well, or?
I would say we will consider duplexes as long as they're for sale, so zero lot line
Yeah.
homes. That could be part of the mix. We haven't done that. We had a proposal to do that on one of our other lots in Sheboygan Falls, and we're exploring that. Do I see EDC and the Ford Fund putting dollars toward that specifically? Not at this time. Would we partner with a developer that wants to do that, or a local builder that wants to do that, or a local developer that wants to do that, and sell those lots to them at cost? Yes.
Well, you know, it all comes down to trying to reduce the cost per square foot. I
Correct.
assume a duplex is probably a little bit cheaper.
A little bit, but not that as much as you, because we did price it, it's not as much as you would think. So that's again, we're open, when we go out to bid, we're open to different solutions and the best thinking, and we are not the experts in housing by any means. We are just trying to, we're definitely learning fast and trying to remove the barrier of number of units while making sure they're quality.
Well, and the other thing, I think on slab construction certainly is cheaper than
It's around
basement.
$35,000.
But, you know, there is an alternative for storage. I mean, you can, above the garage, you can design trusses that
Yep.
allow you to have good storage above a garage.
Yeah, and I'll just say that's very definitely something that's a negotiable point in Sheboygan Falls.
Yeah.
That was a part of the development agreement, said you have to have basements in every single house.
We'll have to explore that.
So, but I mean, that's something that with every community, it's a give and take. As I said at the beginning, public-private partnership. And we kind of have our specs, our basic summary. But again, we have to customize everything to the community that we operate in so that it blends with your community. Okay?
I think we'll cut it off here, unfortunately.
Just a quick comment. I'm happy with the basement idea because besides the storage, it's a safe place
Now,
with the
Yeah.
environmental things we're gonna be dealing with.
So thank you very much, Brian. We appreciate all the work that went into this, and certainly the need is there. We're looking at options in the city, and I think we're well on the way to some sort of process here. So with that, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a follow-up
Thanks, Brian.
council meeting at 7 o'clock.
Move to